this video subject, I wanted to talk about the topic of the Flash. Last night's episode, which was season 7, episode 4, which saw the return of the magician slash well, he's a bad guy, obviously. And complete and total trickster, Abracadabra. He was back last night, and he came back to Central City to basically take everything from the Flash and his team and destroy what they have in order to make them feel like how he felt, which is basically obviously lost and without anything. Because and after the Crisis on Infinite Earths event, that timeline that changed, he lost his family because of that. So he's been obviously alone and angry, and he's been obviously dealing with lots of vengeance. And he obviously wanted to get back at obviously the Star Labs team, obviously, or well, Team Flash. So that's what happened. He came back, and the Flash and the rest of the team, which was obviously with Cisco and Killer Frost, which is also Caitlin, took him down obviously pretty easy in the beginning of the show, but obviously it was a trick. But obviously, and we saw him somehow sneak out of his handcuffs that he was placed in, and which were dampening energy, obviously type of metahuman handcuffs that they put on him. Somehow got out of them and was able to go into Argus, the lab, their one of their labs, and obviously slash closer holding cells, sneak in there, walk around, and he was trying to put some big huge like monolithic like cubes or something together, something like that. I don't know. He was trying to put them together to make something, and what he did was increase it to make some type of antimatter weapon. And it was a big huge cube-like ball, a huge baseball, which could obviously destroy the city and send Central City into a black hole. So that's what happened. We also saw Iris West dealing with the effects still of the Mirrorverse, and her not being able to adjust to what obviously happened to her. And she's obviously having a hard time moving on. She didn't want to talk about it with anybody. She went to a group that was like a speaking engagement type of a therapy group where a bunch of people who were affected by the Mirrorverse and who were trapped in there, who were gone, they were all speaking together about their experiences and what happened before they came back, and obviously while they were in there, how they spent their time in there, missing their family members. So he saw that as well. There was no mention of Harrison Wells or Nash Wells at all, but he'll be back obviously in some type of form towards the mid ending of the season, which we know we saw a couple episodes ago. Looks like Thawne obviously will be back. The Reverse Flash will be back in some type of way, so we're going to see that happen. Obviously Barry doesn't need the Speed Force, anymore, the artificial Speed Force anymore, so he's been doing great now, obviously, and he obviously doesn't need that, but I'm hoping that he will need that again, obviously, because it's just been obviously a continuing thing where he loses his speed and he gets it back again. I know a lot of people are saying that they were upset because he didn't take out Abracadabra and also the Mirror Master, but in the end of the last week's episode, Mirror Master obviously she did decide to go back to her Mirrorverse, Eva McCollum, excuse me, after Iris West and Barry convinced her that she needed to stop destroying the city, obviously with her mirror copies of herself, and so she did. But Abracadabra didn't. At the end of the episode, obviously, he died, but it was by some big, huge Hulk-like monster, ogre type of creature, and it's stated online that this character has something to do with the Strength Force. So I guess there's a Speed Force and there's a Strength Force, so I don't know but that whole thing was it was pretty cool. Actually, I like this week's episode better than last week's, because even though Abracadabra came back out of nowhere in Central City, the surprise, which was the second surprise of the episode, was at the end with the three surprises. Abracadabra coming back, dying. The ogre, this big huge character coming out of nowhere to fight Barry and kill Abracadabra. And the third, which was at the end of the episode, which was when we saw Caitlin and Killer Frost split in two. So actually, Killer Frost is now a whole person by herself. She's no longer in Caitlin's mind. Apparently they split like how two atoms split for some strange reason that happened. So now Caitlin no longer needs to transform into Killer Frost because Killer Frost is now no longer a part of her. she's her own person. I don't know how that happened and how that will be explained, but that's what mostly happened in this week's episode for The Flash, which was season 7, episode 4. I'm on comicbookmovie.com, and this was put out yesterday. The article states, and it shows a preview of the next episode, which is next week's episode of The Flash. It's season 7, episode 5, and it says that The Flash is having a really bad nightmare. In the new promo for season 7, episode 5, Fear Me, next week on The Flash, Barry Allen is forced to face his worst fears when Psyche, a new villain, comes to Central City and throws the Scarlet Speedster into a living nightmare. Next week on a frightening episode of The Flash, when a new villain named Psyche comes to Central City, Barry Allen finds himself trapped in a living nightmare, and with Cecile's help, he must find a way out before it's way too late. While the Scarlet Speedster is forced to face his worst fears, Joe West gets an unexpected visitor when Kristen Kramer from the governor's Municipal Logistics Commission pays the CCPD a visit, the Central City Police Department. When she pays them a visit, luckily he has Iris West, his daughter, watching his back, so the two begin to further investigate what Kramer may be really looking for in Central City. So that's the synopsis for next week. Here's the video here, and it shows that you can play it. I watched it. It's like 25 seconds on TV Promos YouTube channel right here. I watch all their stuff every week, basically, because they obviously have new trailers out for all TV shows and whatnot on different networks. And it also says that plus, back at Star Labs, Caitlin and Killer Frost have a big disagreement about how they should be living their collective lives together now that they're separated. So we'll see what happens with that. So the season 7, episode 4, yesterday's episode was okay. It was great, So yesterday's episode was season 7, episode 4, with the return of Abracadabra. He was great. That episode was fun. He was obviously much more stronger. He has looks like the wand he was using is much more amplified now that he has obviously a bigger chance to go back, and he did in time to get better technology. Forward in time into the future. I like that better. This was better than the ending for the Mirror Master. She obviously can't be trusted, but they gave her a second chance. The Flash and Iris West. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. She'll probably be back in some type of capacity. Like I said before, in the last episode, which was season 7, episode 3, the review I did, I said that she will probably be back to help them take on another villain in the near future, possibly Thawne or another villain, the Reverse Flash or somebody else, or possibly this big huge ogre like a Hulk character that came out of nowhere. It looks like a huge woman. It looks like the She-Hulk mixed in with like some type of Cyclops, like a big huge Cyclops with one eye, but this had 2 eyes. I don't know who it is and who it's going to be, but they'll be revealed obviously soon. So the episode was cool. Like I said, for this week's episode of The Flash, it was pretty cool, better than last week's obviously, because The Flash, even though he didn't take the villain down, he did in this sense that obviously in the beginning of the episode, but yes, he did obviously talk Abracadabra out of basically destroying the city. But I just felt that the episode was a little bit better because but I know some people were saying, well, Barry talked down 2 villains, he let them both walk, he didn't destroy either of them. I understand that, but in the end, Abracadabra did end up dead by the big ogre like villain in the end. So he's gone. He'll be back in some type of form or fashion, and another doppelganger from another world, another Earth version of him. So we'll see what happens with that from a different timeline or another Earth. So we'll see what happens with that. That's all I have to say in regards to this episode for The Flash, which was this week's episode. It aired on Tuesday, the 23rd of March 2021. It was episode 7. It was season 7, episode 4, and it was called Central City Strong. Next week's episode is called Fear Me. That's season 7, episode 5. It's going to air next week on March 30th. So that's what's going to happen. You can see here on comicbookmovie.com. You can watch the preview. They have it linked here to the video by TV Promos, or you could just go to TV Promos YouTube page and find it. Thanks again for watching. If you have any questions about my take on obviously the Flash and obviously other CW shows on through DC Comics. Let me know, and also what did you think about this week's episode? And did you enjoy it or did you prefer last week's episode? I think this one was much better, obviously, but I know it's people are like saying that they didn't like the fact that two villains were able to get a second chance to walk away. I understand that. Obviously the Flash won't be doing that with this big huge ogre like creature, and obviously when the Reverse Flash comes back, but we'll see what happens with that in upcoming episodes on the Flash, obviously. So that's all I have to say about this. Thank you again for watching, and that's all I have to say. Thanks. Bye.